sort of at the end. We're at the end of our little nub, but yeah.
I love it. This is what we do every week. We all get together and we smudge. I have white sage for everyone. And it's not the sage or the Palo Santos that does it. It's our intentions. And then they take our vibrations much higher. So set your intentions today and leave it in the comments if you want. What are you leaving behind while you sit here and enjoy the show today? And what are you going to walk away with? So put those in the comments today. And we have somebody who's so much fun, who I love to listen to. And I want to welcome you, Matthew Mournian. Woohoo!
Thank you. Thank you, by the way. It is rare that I get invited to other people's little areas in the, what word will I use? Multiverse. So thank you for summoning me.
Right on. So now I was going to put your banner up here. And then I'll think of.
So yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you coming on. I know that you know, Teresa speaks very highly of you, of the work that you do, and is very excited. And I'm excited to be able to share you with our audience as well. And I know that what you had mentioned was remembering your mission as something that we could kind of circle around today and see, you know, whatever comes through. But before we get into that, let's just talk a little bit about what you do, how you show up, and what's, you know, how you're of service.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good question. I have an awkward bio that like gets sent around every now and then, but I have realized lately that it's like, I mean, does it even mean anything? Does that even encapsulate what I've been doing? Because I think the reality is a lot of us are in a stage of heavy transformation or recreation or regeneration. We're kind of switching into a new character or a kind of a new version of ourselves. But having said that, I would say at this stage of the game, my primary occupation or mission on Earth is as what we would call a professional psychic reader or a multi-dimensional intuitive healer, meaning that we go through processes of healing, entrainment, and activation of abilities, skills, and also just kind of fundamentally changing the makeup of the human body, which is absolutely possible. And it's part of our journey here during this lifetime, is that we each have ability to transform into something entirely different, entirely new. And so while I guess that's in constant change for me, the big focus of I would say the past couple of years of my life has been on kind of training people and going through the processes that I went through, and also in building new ones, kind of figuring out who we are and what we are doing here. And I think that was a glorious over answer, but
no, that's great.
I tend to over answer everything. So I'm like, watch out. I'll just keep looping on the same thing. But yeah, that's what we're doing.
What are your greatest inspirations that keep you passionate on this mission?
Ooh, man. Okay. Second really good question. Man, my greatest inspiration. Oh, this is going to be such a cheesy answer, but here we go. My greatest inspiration at this stage of the journey is the knowledge that I have been able to, and I think that many of us are connecting with other versions of ourselves. And I know that for me, in 2016 and 15, I had a series of experiences that, you know, however you want to describe it, whatever terms you want to add on to it, it was essentially a walk-in or a soul unbraiding event. And so when I look back at the inspiration that kind of drives me forward, it is that it is really ultimately myself and like the versions of us that exist in the astral planes and the multitude of other realms that are constantly conspiring on our behalf. And so that might be an even more obtuse answer, but but yeah, that's it.
Well, yeah, that makes sense to what I've been going through over the last couple of years. So I'm not going to go there though. It's a lot of work, but what we were talking about before the show, what Bex was showing you, because this is something that's applicable to all of us, whether we want to or not. We all have to get out there into the holiday traffic, which is sometimes it's ring ding dingling, and other times that's my parking place, or you know, it could be anything. Bex, you want to share your story, and then Matthew, can you give us some insights on that?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, I wasn't quite sure if it was connected, but I figured I've never had this experience before. And I worked, you know, I work in public now. I worked on Black Friday, and I also worked yesterday, which was just as busy for the store that I work at. And early this morning, I woke up out of sleep, trying to go back to sleep. And all of a sudden I was seeing flashes of like demonic faces, which I've never experienced before. All of a sudden, like I'm trying to go to sleep and these faces are just popping up as my eyes are closed. Like I'm just, I'm trying really hard to drift off. And so I'm just going into like, I clear myself of any negative energies or negative entities. I'm, solidifying my protection, seeing myself as a bright beacon of light and just beaming it up and around me and everywhere. But it was, like I said, I've never had that experience before. And I'm like, what the heck was that? Blew my mind. But there was a little fear, but then I was like, no, I'm not getting into this. Like, this is not happening. I'm shutting it down immediately and, really standing in my power. Whoa. And then went back to sleep. I was like, no, I need my sleep.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. What shall we say? Okay. I guess I will. I will ask an awkward question. And this will be a weird reply, but here we go. Do you believe that you are experiencing negative entity or negative energetic manifestations, or might you be experiencing an upgrade within your third eye and are just merely perceiving what is already there within the astral space? Or maybe it's a mix of both. What do you think?
I definitely have a very active third eye. Like I see a lot. My visualizations are very clear. They have been like my whole life. This felt like an attack because it was coming at me. Like the faces were coming at me. It wasn't like they're just popping up. They were coming, and it was anger. Like there was just like angry faces, distorted faces, like a lot of. But I don't know where it was coming from. That was the part that was just like, okay, we're not playing. Like shut it down, go away. We're especially when you mess with my sleep. We're not doing that. Like get out of here.
So I actually, I guess here is and I can feel the throat energy clearing. That's a wild thing. Every time I start one of these, I have to push through like a wall of weirdness within my body. But I am a person that experiences a lot of that same thing. And I think when I first started doing psychic work, or honestly, when I first started realizing that I even could, somebody had to show up in my life and go, hey, you're actually a psychic, and I didn't know that's what was going on with me at the time. But that was one of the biggest things that I had experienced, I think probably since I was like 11 or 12 years old, right around like the puberty stage of my life, or when things started really like changing within the body. I started to experience a bunch of weird stuff like that. And I would say throughout most of my life, when I've connected with people that I have actually perceived, well, I would say when I started consciously doing this work, since then, when I've connected with people that I have perceived that have had just very unbalanced or difficult energies around them, it's very common that it's like within the third eye space, it's almost like I'll either close my eyes or I'll blink my eye, or sometimes out of the left eye in the corner of my view, I will see very much like you're talking about. It's like a shape or an apparition, and sometimes it's a being or some sort of just an image standing behind the person. But in other cases, it's literally like you say, like as soon as you close your eyes, this face is like, and
exactly like that. Exactly like that.
That is a really bizarre thing. Now, in my opinion and experience, I don't necessarily know that would be, through my kind of criteria, what I would call an attachment or some form of an entity. But what I have noticed, and here's the thing, I get really particular in sort of labeling things. It's one of the ways that I kind of understand the nature of how I do work. But I have begun to understand those as projections or thought form projections that could be kind of like a depiction of an actual being. It could be a depiction of that person's shadow energy. It can be a thought form that people are bouncing around, especially if you're working in public and if you're in really unbalanced kind of social areas. There's going to be thought forms that are literally created by our negative emotions. And in certain cases, they can almost metastasize. Well, not almost. They will literally metastasize in some form or another into the actual parasitic being or into an entity. We have a concept for them known as tulpas, where it's like something, a bunch of energy is co-created from a number of people or emotional energy. We all invest in a certain thing, and the thought form actually becomes reality. And so what I've noticed is that some of us, we will be experiencing a thought form projection due to a highly enhanced connectivity of the third eye. Other people will be experiencing what are quite literally these sort of projections that get bounced around between our kind of energy fields. Other people will be experiencing the highly metastasized versions of that will actually become beings. This is going to be a weird, get ready for a weird leap. Here we go. Okay. One of the creatures that we've described as Slender Man. Remember the Slender Man? Okay, Slender Man is an example of a tulpa, a co-created element of consciousness that we've all kind of created as a real thing. And so for some of us, when we perceive those beings or those entities or whatever it is in our astral space, what we're seeing is the shadows or the sort of the almost like a watermarked version of these beings that are being created by our collective consciousness. And so anyway, that's a really, really jumbled up way of saying, I think a big part of it has to do with you receiving a really, well, I mean, honestly, because I can kind of feel your third eye right now. I believe that you received a really big upgrade in 2022. It's like, I can see it in your eyes as well, Teresa, because I know it's been like a year or so since or maybe more since we did a show. But it's like an upgrade that will happen. And suddenly people will be much more aware of certain things that were already there, which I guess doesn't mean that it's not an attack. Because I think when the energy comes home with us, well, I guess honestly, even then it might not necessarily be an attack. It's like we will sort of pick up a thing, but it is an energy that thrives on creating negative thought forms and emotions. And so anyway, watch out. I'm literally on this, but go ahead.
So what do we do to clear it? How do we keep ourselves like safe and protected so we're not taking that on?
What I do, and I see some people in the chat get there, and hello everyone in the chat. They know exactly what I'm going to say because I see a couple of these people. What's up, Aurora and White Swan and Jeremy? So they know I'm going to say the thing that I tell everyone, and everyone will instantly cringe. Qigong.
Oh, yay.
You do Qigong every day. If you are willing, if you're one of those people who is willing to make a daily practice out of opening and breathing and working with your energy field, it doesn't have to be Qigong. You can do martial arts, you can do Tai Chi, you can do yoga, you can do breath work. But for me, Qigong is the number one. That was the defining factor for me. Like I was saying, when I started this journey, I think one of the ways in which I learned that I was tuned into non-physical energies is because I was literally oppressed by them for most of my life until, sometime in the early 2000s. But for me, all of that changed when I started doing Qigong. And so when I mean all of that, I mean literally every single thing about how I felt I was getting beaten up by these weird entities and weird stuff was getting flashed in my mind and weird beings, exactly like you say, like something would come out of, this dark space. It didn't end. It didn't end when I started doing Qigong, but it was the first time in my life where I could like feel it and literally deflect. And I could go, okay, I realize this is a really ugly thought form and a really nasty thing approaching. Whoa. And you can kind of like, it's like you can allow them to pass through. And anyway, that's the process that I go. I still do Qigong pretty much, I should say almost every day. Because there's some, but I'm just like, I can't do it. But Qigong and then also, and everyone knows this, regular meditation, or at least coming to a space within yourself where you can give yourself time on a daily basis to be in complete silence. In fact, I would go so far as to say that would be the first step for anyone that's like, I've started to think I'm a little bit psychic. I think I'm tuning into these things. A lot of people are talking about it. How do you start? I would say start with that, which is also, to be honest with you, sorry, I realize I'm going on a rant here, but to be honest with you, I think that is far more difficult for a lot of people to start than doing Qigong, because we're not taught as humans in this awakening age, whether you're awakening or not, we're not really taught ever how to go into a state of silence and like connection. We're only taught how to do that when we're, like connecting with, religions or some other form of predetermined or prescripted spirituality. But anyway, sorry, I'll go on and on. But those are the two things.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. Because like I said, it was a completely, a foreign experience for me. And I was just like, I'm not like, of course, we've had so many people on the show have talked about these things. And yes, the tulpa thing really, it connects because there's a guest we've had on, Jim Harold, who has a show called Campfire. People call in about, their spooky experiences and things like that, like personal experiences. And they had one whole show was dedicated to the Hat Man, which is another variation of Slenderman. And I turned it off immediately. I was like, I don't want it in my head. I don't want to manifest this in my reality, right? So then you're talking about this, and I'm like, shit, now I manifested something else, maybe. Like, okay, let's just shut that down very quickly. But it's just funny how you bring that up. And like, that's out of all this, I mean, I've been into supernatural, spiritual things my entire life. I was in a ghost club that I started when I was 8 years old. Like, I've been obsessed with all those things, obsessed, with ghost stories and like all those things, the unseen. And for the Hat Man to be the one thing that flips me out,
oh my God.
The one thing that I'm just like, nope, I don't want to see it. I don't want to know about it. It doesn't exist. Like, not in my world, right?
So a trip. That's a literal real being now, which is a crazy thing to think about. Our collective consciousness over time has been used to literally create these shadow beings that inhabit a non-physical fourth density astral space. And think about that, how powerful human consciousness is at this point. Imagine what else we could do. It's almost like if they taught us to think up a horrible virus and all kinds of things, we would literally create it. And then we would, create all the other timelines that they want after it. But anyway, that's a whole other discussion.
No, but that's exactly it, because we can also use it for good, like, why are we not using that superpower for good and coming together and thinking up the world being a more peaceful, balanced place where we're not, being held down by slavery and darkness and all of those things, that we're able to break through and have that life that we all desire. So I think that's the thing, is like, this is our opportunity to see what we can actually do so we can use it for, and step in our power and really create the beautiful things that we want.
Yeah.
That makes me excited about that, because there is so much more to us multidimensionally, which I'm glad we have you here. The other day I was getting a message from these dolphins that were saying they were the dolphins from Atlantis. And they were showing me some really neat things way fast. So it took me a couple of days to try to get this. But what it's actually saying is that we have these parts of us in the divine feminine and the divine masculine that we use only in times of when you got to lift the car off your kid, or when there's disasters is the only time we're using them. But now it's time to start using them more every day. It's just time to start walking in them now. So that was the message I was getting. What about all these abilities that we have,
Well, first off, I have noticed what I would call either some kind of dolphin activity, or just, it's funny that you would even mention that, because every now and then through my own kind of like meditations or work that I'll do, like right as I'm going to start a session with certain people, it's like I'll just kind of sit here and tune in and go, okay, what's happening out there? What is there anything I need to know? What do we feel? And I would say over the past, let's make it, I try to be specific when I gauge time periods, because I'm really bad with time, but it feels like throughout the past month. Yeah, I will go with throughout the past month, although who knows, it could have been a week. What I have noticed when I go into that sort of internal place is that there's either like there's animal spirits, or maybe not so much animals. It's like I'll kind of go inward and I'll perceive a movement of things, like not a stampede, but like a herd or a group of energies, or certain things will come through. Sometimes it's people. Sometimes, like I would say in 2020, a lot of it was about weather. And it's like I would go into this thing and I would see all kinds of weird weather stuff and suns moving and storms. And what I noticed, I would say a few weeks back, is when I would go in there, what I noticed was a number of, and not even necessarily dolphins, but it was like sea creatures. And it was like the deep, deep, deep sea. And if you want to get technical, I would say those weird fish that have the little light, appendage. It was like those deep, deep sea creatures. And so I'm not a person that necessarily perceives animals with specificity. So anytime that stuff kind of rolls in, I'm like, huh, interesting. Somebody was working with dolphins and I had this weird deep sea thing. And it's gone so detailed that there have been times when I know my wife has seen a similar thing, where it's like you can find with your sort of remote viewing abilities, which everyone has, there are literal bases on the bottom of the ocean that are made of biological material that are actually constructed with living flesh. And one of the ones that we found was, I think it was made out of something like a starfish kind of flesh, or something that like resembled a starfish, but it was a literal structure that existed under the water. And so anyway, having said that, I lost the essence of your question. I realized I went on a weird trail. What was the question again?
It's about exploring and putting into use our multidimensional parts now?
The abilities. There we go. Thank you. I knew that there was an important thing, but watch out. I'll go on this weird trail. And then I'm like, what was the idea? Okay, so the other part of that, and I know this is a thing that everyone that's seen me and everyone who'll be watching this, you guys are already going to know this is true in your own way. But we came into this life with a series of skills, a set of abilities that for many of us, we're destined to be unlocked when we reach certain critical masses or turning points or healed certain things or made certain changes within the human makeup. And by human makeup, I mean within our emotional body, within the astral body, within layers of the non-physical body, things like chakras, meridians, organ layers. We set up almost like this experiential obstacle course for each living human that has a soul, wherein if we made certain choices and changes in our physical human life, we would be able to step into or awaken other frequencies, in some cases from past lives, some cases from future lives. I know for me, and I know a couple other people in the chat as well, there's a future version of ourselves we started to interact with. But we're at the stage on Earth. We are literally in the lifetime right now where everyone has an opportunity to truly awaken your own version of whatever those abilities are. And so right now, what I've noticed over the past, and this has been like a big chunk of time, so it's going to be different for each person, but through the people that I've worked with, I would say over the past couple of years, by and large, most people tend to be activating something within the throat or the solar plexus. And I know for people that understand chakras, they're going to go, oh, dude, there's so many, like you're just going to focus on the throat and solar plexus. For now, yes. Why would we be focusing on those areas? Because when the solar plexus activates, that's when people tend to awaken one of the first layers of psychic ability, which is claircognizance. A lot of people right now are kind of just like, you're starting to know things. You don't know how you know it. You're just kind of knowing it, and there's no evidence for it. And so when we reach what some people call yellow ray activation, quote unquote, the solar plexus begins to transmit a different quality of energy, and it links up to the throat. And so for a lot of people right now, it's really more about the choices that you will make, the emotions that are lying dormant within the body, the unhealed wounds, the kind of fractured elements of self. And as we start to heal those, everyone gets their own version of something. There's a lot of telepaths on Earth right now. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, there's people that are just now beginning to understand that they have the ability to communicate, with, I guess we'll call them ETs, far, far more clearly and in much greater detail than a lot of these so-called secret space program celebrities that are dictating these false light realities. What we're discovering in this life cycle, especially in the last couple of years, is that everyone here has the ability to tune into those things in the exact same way. But we're kind of being taught to give our power. We're kind of being taught to give our co-creative abilities away. And so a lot of people are sort of lying dormant with really active third eyes, really powerful solar plexuses that are just kind of covered up by old wounds, incredible ability to literally move objects, to awaken the chi in your body that allows you to like move things. If you want to get technical, create fire with the human body. That is actually an experience that I have had. I wish I could do it again.
Oh, wow. How neat.
And I guess I can, but I don't know how yet. But so everyone has their own version. But anyway, watch out. I'll just keep going on. Sorry.
I actually saw something about it recently. I saw some video where a guy was like blowing on something and the fire came, like it started to catch it on fire. There was like smoke. And I've never heard of that before, never seen that before. So it's funny that you mentioned that, because these things are all being activated, powerfully activated.
Oh, it is definitely real. I had an experience in, I want to say it was summer of 2015 when I first started this crazy awakening journey. And I've talked about that story a million times, so it's super old, cringe worthy news for everyone that wants to find it. You can go over on my channel. But in summer of 2015, I was I was literally standing in the shower, just kind of doing. It wasn't even a weird shower. I was just standing there in a weird kind of like, just doing my thing in the shower. And I felt this crazy sort of energy coming through my body. It was during this wild awakening phase where I thought I was losing my mind. Turns out my crown chakra was just really open. But it was like I was standing there in the shower, and it was like I started to feel some energy in my hands. And I literally was standing doing this exact thing, going like, what? And it was a little bit of fear. And in my left hand, as I made my hand move like this, I saw and felt, and it was like, it sounds crazy. I don't know how this is possible, but it was like I could almost smell it. And it was like a blue puff of flame came out of my hand, kind of like when you're trying to light a lighter and it goes,
how cute.
like a little. And so it happened once. And then as I started to move my hand again and I felt it rise up again and I could see it, it was like coming out of my hand. I actually got afraid. I got scared and I felt ashamed, and it went away and never happened again. It was like some weird trigger. Like, what the? It was like so outside of anything that I had ever thought was possible. That it's like instantly my mind was like, what the?
Yeah.
Oh, man. So it is possible. People, and there's people on YouTube, and yes, it is real. They can literally focus that energy. And so come, to find out years later, I think, or no, like 2 years later in 2017, I started, just learning more about the meridians in the body, and come to find out, there's a literal fire portal right in the palm of your hand known as your Lao Gong points, literally right in line with your middle finger. And there's a literal little opening right there from your pericardium, which actually, when highly, highly activated, is what they use to begin creating that sort of super concentrated energy. And thank you, Christian Lent. What's wild is, this is a crazy thing. I was standing in the water when it happened, which is why it just defies all human logic. I'm like standing in a stream of water doing this. And anyway, so it's definitely possible. But
that is so cool. I mean, the most I've seen is just like lights shooting out of my fingertips, like in the dark. I've seen that. And they're only about this big, and I was trying to make them longer, and I get them to go a little bit longer, and then they go back down. And then when I tried to do it again, I couldn't get the energy. Like I just didn't know how I did it. It just happened. Right?
Well, when was that? How long ago?
Oh, like 2.5, 3 years ago, I think. Around the time that I was like, it was like when we were starting, I think it was when we were doing the Akashic records, like we were starting to get into that more, and then the show and like things like that, really opening things up for me. And it was just like, oh, I can play with energy. So I would just play with it. And then I was just looking at my hand one night and the lights were shooting out of my fingertips. I was like, okay, like that's fun. Yeah.
And then it sort of like goes away, or
it does. And then I don't know how to get it back. That's like the dreams about flying. In my dreams, I can do it without effort. Without effort, all I have to do is think about it, and I'm up off the ground. And then I'm like, well, okay, so I could, but I can't tap into that energy here. I haven't figured out how to harness it yet. In the dream is easy, but I know that we have the power to do it here too.
Yeah, this is the way we're moving now.
That was something that I actually, one of my New Year's resolutions a couple years ago was, I'm going to learn how to fly. I'm going to learn. I'm going to figure it out. Haven't quite gotten there yet, but I'm determined. It will happen.
I have actually felt that as being, I know this sounds so cheesy. Here we go. I have actually felt that as being possible. And I think in 2021, I think a lot of us had, states of wild activation over the past few years. Everybody's been through it. But I remember in 2021, early last year, just like you're saying, it's almost like I was walking around, my neighborhood, and it was like I was convinced for a few moments that if I jumped up and kicked my legs, I was like, I feel like I could. And I know that sounds dumb and lame to some people, but it's like there's a weird thing that clicks off in your head, and you're like, I just know this should be. I'm pretty sure I can. I mean, and I couldn't. And to be honest with you, I didn't actually try. What if I could in that moment and I didn't try it because I thought it would be dumb, and I'm like, I'm probably just gonna fall. And what if it was true?
Yeah, but see, that's like when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to climb on big rocks, and I would jump off and like try to fly because I believed I could when I was a kid, because I had those dreams back then too, my entire life. And so there's always like, I'll start to get that feeling. I'll start to feel it. And I'm like, I know this feeling. It starts to build up in my solar plexus, right? And then it starts to move, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling it happening. It's happening. It's happening. And then it fizzles out.
Yeah.
And like, I'll even lay in bed and be like, okay, I'm going to levitate. I'm just going to levitate off this bed. And I'll start to feel the bed like I can't feel it under me anymore. But then I don't trust it enough to let me actually rise off the bed. I'm afraid I'm going to fall. So then
totally.
Yeah. It's wild.
That is also a thing, and that is one of the ways in which, and I know I'm kind of twisting your answer into a different area, but you will notice a similar reaction for those of you, and I know there's a lot of people that are doing this right now who are learning to move outside of the physical body. Because I also think, and I realize this is me jumping into a whole other area, but I believe that one of the collective upgrades that we're experiencing, some people are picking it up kind of in the latter part of 2022, but it's going to be coming much more as we go through the next couple of years. But that is a greatly heightened ability to experience astral projection. And I guess the thing that got me started on that was that when I started having that experience, which also kind of happened accidentally, it was very much like I would start to come up out of my body. And just like you were saying, or for me, this is me, I would get scared. It was like this thing would happen and I'm like just go right back in, because for me at the start, it was like I realized that I had to let go of breathing in a way that doesn't, at least for me, that doesn't make sense, where I'm like, you mean I can't take a breath, or as soon as I would breathe in a way, I would go back in. But if I allowed myself to let something fully go, it was like my breath would leave, but so would the body. And then I would start breathing in a different way. And I might be jumping many, many steps ahead. But the reason why I'm saying that, I think, is because a number of people probably between now and I hate to do dates, but sometimes I do get like kind of chunks of time in which I'll be shown certain things. I know I'm not the only one, so it feels safe to talk about it. But I would say starting in what looked like, I'll go with August, for lack of a better, more applicable time, through what looks like the first quarter of 2023, there are not necessarily new, there are very old layers of the human energy body that are opening up in new ways, kind of like you're getting farther down into the container. And one of those has to do not necessarily with the third eye, but with what we call the causal chakra. Well, I think they're not, it's kind of it's kind of a misnomer, to be honest with you, but people call them causal chakras. And what they are is minor energy centers that will actually, what's the word I'm looking for? They kind of come out of the sides of the head as we go through this awakening journey, and they start to rotate, almost orbiting the human body. And what happens is, or what I've been noticing and what I think is going to be happening for other people, is that as those things start to activate, we start to have a greater level of just, what's the word I'm looking for? Mobility outside of the human body. And it's a little bit like the difference. This is a little bit of a cheesy comparison, but a little bit like the difference between FM radio and satellite radio, where you like if everybody like remembers when that came out, we're like, whoa, we're on satellite. But it was the same version. It was just much more detailed, much greater, far more frequency was available. But what I believe is happening, causal chakra activation. And so a lot of people are going to start having different layers of out-of-body experiences. You're going to start receiving knowledge that you never learned it. It's just going to start to show up. You're going to start meeting people, your friends and family, within the dream space, within the astral realm, or you're going to start having much more detailed conversations with yourself and others in that internal dialogue space. And that's one of the ways in which we notice that the causal chakras are activating, because not only are they kind of like transmitters, but they're sort of like portal activators. In fact, I call them portal chakras because I think their function is to sort of pass information and experiential data in and out of what we would call what some people call the luminous egg, or the human energy bubble. And so when the causal chakras activate, we're able to move in and out on a greater level, kind of like having a big opening in your energy field. And so what happens is, for many of us, when we go into the dream state, when we're at night, or at night when we're in the dream state, or when we're in a dedicated meditation, your astral body starts to go literally filter through certain areas of the body. And anyway, I'm going on an anatomical rant here, but get ready, because a lot of you guys are going to be experiencing it in the coming months. So
that's exciting. I'm ready. Let's do
it. Yeah. This will be fun.
Definitely happening. Go ahead.
Do we have an experience or a little meditation we can do with everyone today, or something?
Well, it kind of depends on what you want to do. I can tell you that one of the most, I guess we will, if you guys want. We can do a quick vagus nerve open, really an opening, but an attunement. And so not all the work that I do necessarily translates well into the live stream format, but certain things we can use quite effectively. And so for those that want to begin to improve not only your ability to read and feel energy, but your ability to understand the true state of what's going on within your body and to reset, kind of like to turn off the systems that need to be turned off and turn on the ones. I use vagus nerve stimulation, which for anyone that follows my work out there, the real secret, and I guess I'm going to be I will be revealing this today in our chakra class. The real secret behind a lot of what I do when moving energy through the body is really mobilizing and sending energy through the vagus nerve. But for those that don't know, what I'm talking about is the 10th pair of cranial nerves within the body. It's kind of like the information superhighway within the nervous system. So how do you access it? What I found is one of the easiest places is right underneath your ears along the bundle of tendons on the side of your neck. And so you can do both sides, but what I have people do, and we do this in sessions, is you take your fingertips and press them behind your jaw under your ear and kind of squeeze as you pull down. And you'll put a little bit of pressure on it. You'll kind of squeeze it, and you kind of like squeeze your face. It's like there's a little bit of a kneading quality. You're pulling it down. And you'll pull it down right around here. And for people that have really good collarbones, some of you guys have it, I don't, but you'll find those little tendons. You know, when you tighten up your neck, you'll find those tendons. The vagus nerve is right in there. So what we'll do is we'll kind of stretch the skin and pull it down to the collarbone and stretch the skin down here. And hopefully this shows up on the audio. But one of the easiest ways to open and reset the vagus nerve is through humming and deep breathing and singing. And so you'll grab and palpate and pull that energy down, and you go, and just kind of create this low rumble in your body. And that's a very helpful thing that I do literally every day. Another thing that I do, which I should have probably done this first, but we use capsule phrases in the work that we do. And not that many people have heard of capsule phrases. However, capsule phrases is really just another term for a mantra. And so we use capsule phrases in the School of Multidimensional Intuition to help bloom open chakras. And by bloom, what I mean is I believe when you really peer into what I call the visual framework or the visual representation of the chakra system in the body, most people, I believe, will notice that there is this process of outward blooming and this sort of opening of energy that happens within the energy field. And so you can use a number of phrases, but one of the most helpful ones, actually, yeah, we will go with two. One of the most helpful ones opens up communication pathways in your body. And earlier I was saying, well, there's a lot of people activating the throat and the solar plexus. We're gaining new abilities and we're learning our ability to project and communicate them outward. And so for people out there that are having a hard time speaking, you're having a hard time being heard, you're having a hard time being received by the world, you're being misinterpreted, all of the gaps around communication and the suppression of that, by opening the throat, you change your ability in that area. So this is a capsule phrase that you can use to open your throat. I'm gonna do it here, and then maybe we can write it in the chat. But it's hung ka ro, and it's hung like in the back of your throat. And so I will do it here. It's hung ka ro. It's like you can sing it out and actually create a vibration in your body. And whoa, watch. Some people will literally cough right after you do it. You will feel a dryness develop within your throat. Sometimes, like I'm getting right now, like literally your nose will start running. It's funny that I kind of pushed really hard. I guarantee it, for those of you guys that use that, you will create a mandatory opening. It's like an automatic flowing of energy that's trapped right here. And so hung ka ro, very, very helpful. Thank you, White Swan. So you can also say hung, like H-A-N-G, or you can say hung, but either one doesn't matter. And then the other one, I think we'll go with the spleen. I use this a lot. Why would you want to push on your spleen or work with your spleen in order to balance human energy or to open up pathways of intuition in the body? The spleen plays an incredible role in regeneration and clarity. It does all kinds of things with immunity and blood building within the physical body, but within the intuitive or the astral body, it's all about your outlook and your perspectives and the emotions and the frustrations that you will hold in your body to other people. One of the reasons for that is because the spleen's a two-way opening. And so there's a phrase you can use to balance emotions within the body and to change your perspectives. And that is this. It's da, re, o. And so that's actually, I would say that's the one that I almost received the most emails about, strangely enough. But it goes like this. Da, re, o. It's it's really just a vibration that you will hold in the body, and you can say them internally, you can say them out loud, you can literally aim them at another person, you can address an entire group of people. And the thing is, I'm going to make it even weirder. Hopefully I'm not going on too long here, but it doesn't actually even matter if you say it out loud. They're sort of like calling cards or internal energetic kind of commands that we will give the energy body that I believe that there are many, many other people on Earth that have fragments of what is essentially an ancient language that we used in other times or possibly other dimensions. I picked up a lot of this through out of body, what I believe to be extraterrestrial experiences, in which I literally heard these words over and over and over again. And so having come back from that, it sounds so dumb sometimes. There's a number of people out there that are like, really? You're using an energetic modality that you're mimicking from a group of extraterrestrial beings that you encountered in an out-of-body experience? Yes, we are. And it literally works. And so, Da, Re, O, Hung, Karo. There's a number of other ones, but the reason why I always talk about these is because I believe there are many other people on the earth plane who are receiving the rest of this language. I only have a few pieces. You know what I mean? I only got the ones that applied to the areas that I was working in. I believe there are others, and I believe there are other phrases and words, and there are even movements that these beings do that upon doing so opens up gateways, it opens up portals. And I think essentially some of these capsule phrases in the beginning, what they're doing is they're opening up portals within the human body. And so when you really look at what the chakras are, and I know some people out there are going to hear this and go, I've never seen a chakra. I don't even know what this guy's talking about. Don't worry. As you continue to kind of open up and do things like Qigong and it's like kind of familiarize yourself with that world, they will show themselves to you. But when you actually look at like what the chakras do, they're literally opening. And so these commands are sort of like they're like magic words that we can give to non-physical, invisible areas of the body and create change. And anyway, sorry, I'm going on and on here, but.
No, it's perfect. I mean, you think you're rambling, but we're all taking it in. So just know that everything that you're saying is so valid and so it resonates so loudly. Yeah.
Thank you. I hope so. I get super conscious over that. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's all amazing information that we need. And it's, there's been so many light bulb moments, like you're saying, it's all clicking, like all these aha moments we're having as we're listening and just taking it in and being present with it. And it's funny because our co-host Rhonda, who we love so much, and she's not with us for a couple of weeks because she's going through some healing right now, but her area of focus was her spleen. So
wait, really? Oh my God. Okay.
So the fact that you brought that up, I was like, well, there's no coincidences.
Okay. Okay. So since we are here and that is the area, is it okay if can we just do that spleen like capsule phrase, or I can just do it? And who knows, I'm not like one of those people that's like, guess what? We did a healing on YouTube. It changed everything. But I believe that when we send that energy out there, people will receive it. And so I will just try this. And anyone, I know there's a couple people in the chat. You guys know how this works. You do it with me all the time. But I'm just going to kind of let that frequency roll through. Hopefully StreamYard won't cancel the audio. But we're going to send this out to Rhonda. And so just real quickly, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to aim a bolt of energy or a strange frequency at your spleen? Because, well, in this case, I guess she had this, was it removed or?
Just something on it that was removed.
Oh, okay. Cool.
It's called a Whipple surgery. And so parts of the whole gallbladder is gone, and then parts of two other things in there, which I guess one's a spleen. And the spleen is what they were after to check for something. That was the focus. But in the meantime, the Whipple takes. It was just a whole lot of.
It's very invasive, very invasive, and it takes a lot. A lot of healing needs to happen.
Oh man, okay, okay, cool. Thank you. So this one's going out to Rhonda, and so I'm just gonna kind of create this vibration. Sorry, I'm doing all this wind up to it, but for those that want to help, you can either do the tone with me, or as you hear this sound, you can breathe it in. It's like you hear the sound and you go. You pull it into your body. And so I'm just going to have everyone let all your breath out. Da, re, o. If you want to go an extra step, tap the left side of your body, right at your ribs right there. Just tap it, taking a breath in. And once again, da, re, o. Thank you. So what might happen when you feel that? For those that just hear it, let's say you're just watching this, or you're watching on like a, you know, like the replay.
She's
2 months
here.
later. Oh,
Rhonda's
she is
watching. She said, "Thank you for joining us today, Rhonda. He just did some amazing stuff to help heal you. So
Hopefully,
you have to watch the replay."
And so, how would you guys know if you are actually affected by that frequency? Because there is a literal sign. You will notice your mouth will either get a lot of saliva and you'll want to start swallowing, or you'll get dry mouth. Your mouth will get drier. Another thing that will happen is people will notice a little bit of warmth build up in your midsection, like right around here. Sometimes you'll even notice a coolness, like you'll suddenly feel cold, like in your belly. But for most people, the mouth responds to the spleen chakra, as does the temperature on the left side of the chest. And so another thing that you'll notice, because the spleen is an organ, whether it's there or not, you still have a spleen channel. But the spleen and gallbladder are two organs that when you actually place a lot of pressure on the energy bubble around them, people will have physical reactions. And I've seen it so many times in a row. One of the things that'll happen with the spleen is if you press it too hard or send too much energy into it, people can gag. And sometimes it's just a little one, or you'll get a weird burp. You'll just get this like thing will happen. And what will happen with the gallbladder is that your face will turn red. People will get this weird hot feeling will show up. Other people will start to sweat. It's like you'll get this momentary sweatiness, and that's the channel and also the organ. And even if the organ's not there anymore, because a lot of people, you know, as you know, you get your gallbladder. I feel like a lot of people have their gallbladder out, but
mine's gone. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. The gallbladder channel will still be very, very much alive. And so thank you, Michelle Lynn Hess, because people that will have phantom pain in the gallbladder region, and I might be wrong about this. This is something that I've worked with through experience. I don't have any formal training in this. So if you're a person that needs someone with formal training, click off, because it's all experiential. But what you'll notice is that when you start to open that up, people's frustration will leave. Your anger will leave. There's going to be certain things within your body, or like conclusions that you'll hold on to, or even thought forms, literal thought forms that'll just roll through your body. If you're one of the people, let's say, and since you don't have your gallbladder, maybe you'll notice this is different from you, but what we've noticed with the gallbladder channel is it's very active when you're in the shower or when you're laying in bed at night. And what you'll know, it doesn't necessarily matter, it doesn't have to be in the gallbladder hours. I can't remember what gallbladder hours are on the Chinese medicine wheel, but when it's activated and when you have a lot of energy in that channel, you'll be stuck in stories within your mind. You'll still be in a conversation from 2010, and it might not even be an argument, but you're like still rolling it. And you're saying it different this time, or like I'm back in high school, you know, it's like, and you're still playing the scene, because the gallbladder channel in the body it's almost, well, not almost, I believe it is the king of thought forms. And more than any other channel, it holds all kinds of experiential data. And once you purge it, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people get stuck in these old mindsets from previous identity stages, and you won't be able to update your understandings. It's not the only reason why, but the gallbladder is incredible place to work with. And anyway, I feel like I'm going on an anatomical rant here.
That's so, I mean, you just talking about it, and I'm feeling like, because I guess I have tension there all the time and I don't even realize. I don't know if it's my body's way of like trying to hold on to whatever's not there anymore, but I had it out 22 years ago. You know, it's been a long time. Yeah, after my first child. So I'm feeling all this relief. There's like a melting happening in that spot. And I don't have that. It's usually just very, I mean, I don't even notice it's tense until it's not, right? So you're talking about it, and it's just kind of relaxing and easing, and yeah, I'm on fire right now. Like my whole body's just heated right up.
Hey, thank you.
That's cool. So very cool. Who knew this is where we're gonna go, huh?
I know. I didn't know either. Sorry.
That's why I said we don't try to figure it out. We just let it go where it needs to go, because that's exactly what we need to hear today.
That's actually a really good thing, because after I like break through some weird wall of awkwardness, I'm like, okay, God, now I can't stop talking. I'm sorry. But anyway, yeah.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. This has been amazing. And you know, I mean, all of this is connected to the mission, right? All of it is. So
yeah.
Totally. Yeah,
do you want to ask them the 3 questions?
I mean, he's like, oh no, the questions. Do you know about the questions?
I know one of them has to do with a crystal, right?
Yes, but the first one has to do with your favorite song. Like, what's your theme song?
I do have a favorite. I do have a song I've been listening to a lot, and everybody out there is going to be like, huh? For real? Actually, let me just look at the title of it, because I'm like, really? This is like seriously the most listened to song on my Spotify lately. Let me okay, I have it. Here it is. Okay, I'm back on the screen. It is I'll Never Smile Again by Tommy Dorsey from the big band era. No joke. No joke. That is my #1 most played song of the past month or so. I get weirdly obsessed with the old like big band era, like, you know, not, you know, just all of those previous generations. Not that I listen to it all the time, but it's like I get weird eras of music come through. And so lately it's been this weird like Tommy Dorsey era of like all this weird. Yeah, it's so
that's cool.
So bizarre. So I know that was not the answer everybody was expecting, but
no expectations.
No, we expect just whatever you give us. Yeah,
everybody should go listen to that song. You're gonna be like,
so
really? This
That'll
is
be fun.
Say the title one more time. What was the name again? Because I wrote
I Will Never Smile Again. I think it's just his #1 song on like Spotify. It's just like, you know how like, I don't know, whoever uses Spotify out there, they send you all these playlists, and I don't know,
I love that.
Sucker for that, and I'm like, okay, let's see what the AI is sending us. All right, like, what does the AI think I'm gonna like? And I gotta be real, it kind of works. Whatever the Spotify AI is doing, I probably shouldn't say that on the internet. Somehow they've been sending me good stuff. So yeah.
There you go. That's awesome. Okay, second question. What is your favorite crystal that you're working with right now?
That's a good one. So I think that when you guys asked me this question in the chat, I said a couple that are kind of like my long-standing favorites. However, I completely forgot about, and here's the thing about crystals. I'm a person who, it's like, I used to be obsessed with them. I've gone through big stages of like obsession, and I had all these stones that I was carrying, you know, in my pockets for the past few years. And what I've noticed over the past year or so is I kind of stopped doing that. Not that I stopped working with their vibration, but a few months back, somebody sent me something, and maybe you guys have heard of her, but her name is Rhonda Wells. And not too long ago, Rhonda sent me an organite wand, this organite wand that she had created. So I guess technically it's in a different category from a lot of maybe the gemstones that you're, you know, crystals that you guys will be talking about. But when it comes to kind of just items that I have with me, and it's not even necessarily that I use it on an everyday basis, but it is something that is literally right here next to me in every single session I do. And so I would like to say that my chosen kind of tool for the moment has been this strange wand from Rhonda Wells. And I think you guys can find her on Etsy. I know she does an incredible organite. There's a lot of people that are making really good organite, but she had sent me this, and I am one of those people where as soon as they pull out like what I call what's the word, peripherals, you know, and I'm like, really, you have some like spiritual accessories, I tend to be like, oh really, that's cool, that's great. But this one, for some reason, this weird wand has stuck with me. So thank you, Rhonda.
Honey.
Yeah, that's our chosen.
That is very cool. I love that. Our third question, which I guess we can rephrase it for you because we already know the answer, but I guess I'll ask it. If recently, within the past month or so, have you experienced any extra dimensional intelligence, meaning UFOs, visitations, or anything like that?
Whoa, man, that's a good question. Are we running out of time? Because I'm gonna.
You're okay.
Okay, good. Because I'm gonna give you the answer. I was thinking, it's funny because I was talking with my wife and Nora about this the other night, because somebody else was honestly, I think, you know what, I think it was Alexis, who you guys had on a couple weeks back.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
She was doing a live stream a few days ago, and she was talking about she mentioned dreams or something, and I was like, oh yeah, I had this weird dream, and boom, this experience came into my head from, I think it was either the Sunday or the Monday before Thanksgiving. And what it was a scene and man, some of these are so crazy, but it was a scene in which myself and a group of others, and one of those ones that's so vivid, it's like you can smell it. So it's like there's some other thing going on here. But I was with a group of people who are very much, it was like us here, like imagine us three, but we're in kind of like child form, which is hard to say. It's like we were kids, but it's us. It's literally us as adults, but almost like in just different bodies. And so within this space, I was in a very old house. And sorry to make this weird at the end, but some of you guys will get an internalized slideshow of it if you watch my left eye. I'm being totally for real. And so what I perceived within this astral space was essentially a very old house. I could see the rotting on the floorboards. I could see where the paint had sort of worn off. I could see the doorknob of a very old door, like early 1900s, like old rickety doorknob. And there was a group of us standing outside this door, and we were told that we were going to go in and see something or something. And it wasn't like a person. It was just like, okay, are you ready to go in? And I guess it was my turn to go in. And when I went inside this room, in the corner of the room was a very old rickety chair. Like it was like worn wood, almost like it had splinters on it. Like when I think of it now, I'm like, who would sit on that thing? It was like torn up. But sitting on this chair, I can't believe I'm talking about this here, but I guess I am. Sitting on this chair was a very, very kind of shriveled and gray kind of alien, not kind of, like some form of alien being, like a literal non-human being. But I don't mean like a gray alien. It was like part humanoid and part gray, and it had weird kind of ridges around its eyes, like actual kind of like the brow bone. It had like a brow bone thing like up, and it was sitting in this chair and just sitting there breathing really, really slow. And the feeling that I got from it was that it was dying, that it was very, very old. It was this very, very old being. And all of us as children were ushered into this room to just meet with it. It was like you would just go into and see this being. But the crazy thing is, I do not know what the exchange was. I know I walked into this room and I had a hard time looking at it. And instead, my eyes kept getting drawn to this window to its left. And it was so detailed. I could see outside the window into this realm. And I could see the branches and the leaves on a weird fern-like tree that was in the background outside of this house. And in the corner was just this weird being sitting in this chair. And I just watched it breathe. And he was sitting there with I don't know why I'm saying he. It was sitting there with its head to the side, just looking at me and just breathing. And its whole body was just like pulsing, like,
wow.
Just, oh man, so weird. In fact, so weird that I was actually telling my wife, I'm like, I'm probably never going to talk about that one online, but like, here I am talking about it. Man, I have to say, it was, I don't know that it was a good experience. I don't know if it was a bad experience. It was just one of those things where you're like, what the fuck? You know, like, how is this? And so that's about the closest I have been, I would say, over the past few months. So
how exciting.
That is wild. I love that we embrace it as experiences, not just a dream. Because how many times do we dismiss things as dreams when they're actually experiences, right?
I think most of them are.
Yeah.
Maybe not most of them, but I mean, I've actually noticed a differentiation between the types of dreams that we have. And I know tons of people have also noticed similar thing, but I do believe at certain stages, our consciousness is just kind of firing off random images, meaning that not all dreams, I think, are actual experiences. Some of them are sort of like this psychosocial play out that'll happen of our thought forms in this experiential space inside us. And other ones are quite literally where it's like we're meeting with a group, and there she is on the screen. Aurora Diamond Heart has been in a couple of those experiences. A lot of people that I've known from just our soul family, it's like somehow they'll be in the dream, and a lot of people will be taught to think like, well, that was clearly just, you know, something that I made up within my mind. One of the ways we're going to notice that those causal chakras that I was talking about earlier, sorry to go back to that, but one of the ways in which you will know that your energy body is activating on a different level is because you will have a much greater occurrence of those meetings or those gatherings, or it's like you will begin to acknowledge and see other people. Right. And the ones that you're seeing, by and large, those are people that are in a very, very similar stage of activation as you. So when you're encountering people in the dream space, we could even say, well, maybe I shouldn't say, a lot of the famous people or the archetypes that we'll encounter, those will also be indicative of states of activation or kind of like fragments of ourselves. And so it's a crazy thing. Notice who you meet in the dream realm, guys.
Teresa and I both had celebrity friends. You hung out with, was it Johnny Cash or who was it?
Oh, he's one of my spirit guides. That's
right. And I had Chris Cornell around the time, like before he died and after. So I had a lot of dreams with him. We just hang out. He would play music. We'd talk. It was very chill. So
that's right.
That was very cool.
That. They're definitely out there. They're definitely out there.
Yeah. And hi, Alexis. She's on.
Oh, Alexis. Hey. So, Matthew, I keep thinking, are you going to have books or cards and things too? Your information is in so many layers. I'm trying to think, how would he put it together in a book? Part 1, part 2? You know, there's just so much.
You know, that has been it sounds dumb, but here we go. I have an assignment in this life. I have to write 3 books, maybe more. I have not completed any of them. It's literally one of these mandatory parts of my mission. Right now, I'm actually being held back on a little bit of a stage in terms of my own kind of advancement. Probably shouldn't talk about this publicly because I have not taken the time to put it all together. And so it's been made intimately aware. I've just been painfully aware that is one of the stopping points for me. And so the fact that you even asked about that, Teresa, is a sign that you're like, somebody is like going, hey, ask him about the book thing. People keep coming to me and they're like, hey, are you going to write this book? And I'm like, yes, I will. Right now, I think I'm working through just, I don't know what it is, but there's a little bit of a bubble in the way to finishing it. And my prayer is by summer of 2023. Damn, did I just give myself a deadline?
Oh, wow.
But yeah, anyway.
But I see it. I see the energy in it, and it's like energy comes off of it. So it's either multidimensional in itself that people can catch it on different layers when they're reading it, or something. There's just something that's got layers that I see coming off of it. It's like energy. It's a good thing, but I don't know how to describe it. No.
I just, they've already, they're already done. It's just bringing them into the physical. They're already done. They're already, it's already happened. So just, open yourself up to be the channel.
I know. I really have to. I don't know what the blockage is. It doesn't feel like a negative thing. It feels like, well, after he does this and this and this, then he's going to start doing that. And so
sometimes it's the world that has to be ready, not the world, the collective. So you might have the information all downloaded, but a few more things have to be activated first.
Yeah, I agree.
Good excuse.
Oh yeah. There's some things that gotta be activated.
Yeah,
don't worry.
Right. I love that. Oh, this has been so much fun.
Yeah, it's been inspiring. I got all kinds of notes here. I got to decipher because I only used 1 page instead of a bunch.
Cool.
Well, I can't wait. So let's do this more often and not wait so long.
Totally.
It's exciting.
Totally.
So
we would love to have you back again. Absolutely.
I would love to. I mean that very, very sincerely. You guys, I do actually catch a number of your shows like after the fact, kind of like rolling through my Facebook timeline. And I think one of the things that makes you guys authentic is that you're all like individual in your own way. And there's a really cool level of like openness and authenticity, but also discernment in a way that I don't know. I've just noticed it's a very authentic thing. And so thank you for kind of walking that line the last few years.
We appreciate being able to show up here. Like it was a whim that Teresa asked us to do it. And then we just like, Rhonda and I were like, yeah, I guess we'll try it. Thought it only last 3 months or so. And we're on season 5 now.
Yeah.
So we're just flowing with it at this point. Just let it be whatever it is, you know.
That's how you
Which
know.
is what makes it fun, because then we get to have amazing guests like you on, and your amazing family that you brought with you. Like, wow, you guys are incredible.
Thank you all.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We love you guys so much, and we are happy to have spent our Sunday with you today. I just have to announce the winner of our Share It Out, who won the Soul Spa meditation, and that is Eleanor Rossington. Congratulations. And for all of you guys who are new to our show, if you share this out, or even if you comment, we will pick somebody who won. It's an amazing Soul Spa meditation and Egyptian journey that Teresa and Rhonda and I created together that offers a very beautiful, detailed meditation with healing and channel messages that come through. And it's very much like an up level. It's a beautiful experience. So you get to win.
And we're working on more eventually.
We are. We call them soul spa meditations because, you know, we all have, we can go to the spa and be able to relax our body. But, you know, the soul really needs a spa too. It needs a place to just be and relax and to just take it in. So it's a cool thing.
Oh, I love it. That's really cool.
It's so much fun. But thank you so much. And like I said, we'll definitely have you on. And where can people catch you outside of here if they want to follow you?
Yes, you can find me on YouTube at Remember Your Mission. It used to be the School of Multidimensional Intuition, which technically it still is, but we simplified it. You could just do at Remember Your Mission on YouTube, or you can go to rememberyourmission.com. And yeah, thank you once again for having me on your show. I mean it very, very sincerely. I don't go on, for some reason, I just don't do that many shows. I don't know why, but it's always an honor whenever people summon me. I mean that very sincerely. So thanks, you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, love you all and stay healthy and keep loving until next week. And we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.